Hello my friends and welcome to another Halloween or perhaps fall project, and today we're making a card with extra on top. Last Halloween I made this card for my friend Linda using the Tim Holtz and Sizzix globe die, and I think I want to make it into a tradition to make a fall card with the globe die and sending it to my friend. So we're using the globe die, the lumber embossing folder, a set of tag dies, and a new stamp set called Scarecrow. Everything is from Tim Holtz. I have showed you how I ink up and turn paper into faux wood with the lumber embossing folder, so I cut that part out this time. I cut the wood grain panel into strips so we can build a background. If you want to see how it's done, you won't have to look far back through my videos because I use this technique a lot. So I have a panel of white cardstock about A5 in size and a pile of those faux wood strips, and I start building a wood background using liquid glue and some clips to hold things in place while the glue dries. When all the wood strips are glued down, I bring out VersaFine Onyx Black ink and use a brush to darken the edges and frame my wood panel. Next, I run that globe die through my die cutting machine and get a white globe. Then I run the die that cuts out the globe base and cut that out from a leftover wood strip. It's time to stamp, so I stamp the scarecrow and a bunch of corn stems in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I just love that scarecrow. So let's make the globe background, and I hold that scarecrow over my globe to see where things should go. Then I bring out my mini archival ink pads and choose a yellow called Fossilized Amber. I place the globe in my stamping platform and place the moon stamp where I want it. Then I stamp the moon in that yellow archival ink, which is permanent. When I have a dark yellow and permanent moon, I bring out Distress ink in Squeezed Lemonade and use a brush to add color to my moon. But I want yellow ink in a halo around the moon, so I use a homemade stencil that is slightly bigger than the moon to avoid too much yellow around the moon. Off camera, I stamp the moon on masking paper, and when I have that yellow halo I want, I place the mask over my moon. When the mask is covering my moon, I bring out Distress inks in Chipped Sapphire, Villainous Potion and Wilted Violet and start blending the dark blue Chipped Sapphire around the moon. The mask helped me avoid mixing the blue and yellow ink too much. Before I move on, I go back with yellow ink and make sure to get a smooth transition between the moon and the sky around it, and I go back one more time with the blue ink as well. When I'm happy with the moon, I blend the purple Wilted Violet and try to achieve some variation in my background by blending the dark purple Villainous Potion and Chipped Sapphire with the lighter purple Wilted Violet, and I go back and forth between the inks to get a smooth blend. It's always so satisfying to pull off the mask and see the whole background. Before I'm done, I use that homemade stencil to add my yellow ink one more time. And then I use black ink to darken the edges so my night sky is framed. It's time to give the scarecrow and the corn stems some color, and I bring out distress inks to do it. I have brown vintage photo and ground espresso, red inks in H mahogany and barn door, orange in carved pumpkin and rusty hinge, and the yellow mustard seed. I use the 2 brown inks to color the burlap face and make shadows under his hat. Then I color his pants red and shirt orange. His hat is colored in red and his coat in oranges. This scarecrow has lots of shadows built in, so I don't have to work hard. I just add color. For the corn stems, I use the same color palette, and I make the stems go from brown to red to orange and finally yellow. My background is completely dry, so I bring out the scarecrow stamp set again and put the globe background in my stamping platform and place the stamp with lots of bats in the center. Then I bring out Wow's Ebony Superfine embossing powder. I stamp the bats in VersaFine Onyx black ink and cover them with the black embossing powder before I melt the powder with my heat tool and get those raised and glossy black bats. Next we're working on the wood panel, so I bring out an old stamp set from Tim Holtz and choose the big cobweb stamp. I treat my panel with an anti-static powder tool and stamp the cobweb in Versamark embossing ink, cover with Wow's Vanilla White embossing powder and melt with my heat tool. And I do the same procedure in the other corner as well. So I said that this card would be a card with extra on top, and I have a plan. I die cut a small tag, and I also have 2 black panels with an opening to insert a tag, along with a black panel for the back and a black panel behind the wood panel, so 4 black panels in total. I glue the wood panel onto one of the black panels, giving it a thin black frame. Then I glue the 2 panels with a tag cut out together and glue them both to the back panel, before I finally glue the wood panel on top of the cutouts. And I test so my tag can be inserted and pulled out easily. I hope this makes sense. I put the card in a heavy book so everything will flatten out and stay in place. It's now time to give the little tag some color, and I bring out the same distress inks that I used for coloring and smoosh them on my glass mat. I spray with water and smoosh my tag into the ink. Before the next layer, I dry the tag and then I tap that tag into the inks again, but picking up less ink when I just tap it in the ink. And I do that many times with all of the inks from before, drying with my heat tool in between and tapping my tag in ink again. Here and there I flick little droplets of water on my tag and pick up color with a paper towel. And I continue this procedure until I'm happy. When I'm happy with the smooshing and tapping, I use the brown ink ground espresso to go around the edges of my tag. Now let's start assembling this card, and off camera I cut a black globe slightly bigger than my first globe, and I did the same for the base of the globe. I glue my globe onto the black shadow, and I glue the wood base onto its own black shadow as well. I put black foam squares behind my scarecrow and glue him down on the globe background. I glue the wood base onto the globe, and then I cover the back of the globe with foam tape and glue it on to the wood panel. Next I start adding the corn stems behind the scarecrow in different heights, and I feel this scene is starting to come to life. If you're wondering why I have glue on my left hand, it's because I press the corn stems on my hand before I place them on my card to take off some of the glue and avoid glue oozing out behind the stems. When I have filled the globe with corn, I continue gluing corn stems outside the globe just to add some interest and use those corn stems I colored and cut out. I want a bold heat embossed sentiment on the tag, so I bring out black embossing powder and choose a sentiment saying trick or treat. I stamp in VersaFine Onyx black ink, cover with black embossing powder and melt with my heat tool. I also want a sentiment on the globe base, so I stamp Happy Fall and heat emboss it in black. I bring out two distress inks in purple, the same inks I used on the background, and I blend the lighter ink Wilted Violet over the sentiment and go around the edges with the darker Villainous Potion, and then I buff off any ink left on the heat embossed words with a paper towel. I glue the sentiment Happy Fall onto the base of the globe. For the tag I have some random black ribbon and I thread it through the hole in the tag. The last thing I do is to make sure the tag can be pulled out and pushed in with ease. And now this extra mixed media Tim Holtz Halloween card is finished. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and I will be back soon with more artsy crafting. Until the next time, happy Halloween!